everything set up. Share to Discord. That's sent. Now we're going to do to store. Okay, we're going to share this to you. Let's see, you, you, you. Let's see, we'll go to all of you. Okay, there we go. Everybody has been sent. Hey, Kayla. Get everybody in here. Okay. And then we have Brent. Thank you, Kayla. Okay, Brent, can we hear you?
I think so. I can hear you.
Perfect. I can hear you. Now, can we get visual?
How do I do that?
So it is on your end. You should be able to like tap your spaces and you'll have a pop-up box, or it's at the very bottom. We can see you.
Me.
Hey, Smoke. Welcome in. Welcome in, everyone. We have Brent Hennrich from Washington joining us. He is running for the U.S. House of Representatives, Congressional District 3. So how are you doing today, Brent?
I'm doing pretty good. Is my angle okay? I've never done a live on TikTok, and I've never used my phone, so I've got a very precarious setup here of where my phone is. So that's all.
No, it's honestly, it's fine. And I get it. There's a lot of people I'm finding out that it's either like one of their only streams they've ever done on TikTok or one of their first long form interviews that they've done. Cause they're used to like 5-10 minutes, but they're like, but 30 minutes, an hour and a half. I'm like, yeah, because guess what? You're going to have situations like that where it's not going to be 5 minutes. You're going to have to keep it going for 90 minutes to 2 hours.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I think
Great place to start.
My daughter thinks it's funny, my 15-year-old, because I mean I've got two ring lights in front of me, and they came with things that screw into them and hold the phone, and I was like, I'm never going to need those, and I threw those away years ago, and I've got an Osmo iPad holder holding my iPhone with my iPhone case under the backside to tip it this way, all sitting on top of my laptop that I normally do for Zoom, and so this is fun and trying something new.
And I bet you're really regretting the fact that you threw away those phone holders for the ring lights, right?
Yes. Yes.
Hindsight's 2020, at least that's what they say.
Yeah.
So we'll start off. So you are running on the federal level. You are running as a Democrat.
Yes.
Your primary is on August 4th.
Yes.
And you're running against a total of 11 people. So 10 opponents. Let's talk about that a little bit.
No, I thought it was only 9.
So it may have changed, but when I looked at Ballotpedia 2 days ago, that's what they had listed.
Okay, well, correct, except for we just concluded our filing week, and there were 9 names that paid the fee that will appear on the ballot.
Gotcha. See, but that's some of the stuff that, okay, now that primaries are passed and this is passed and that's passed, like, where are we standing? What do we have? Like, Virginia, they redistricted and then they didn't. As I'm sitting there announcing, I'm like, I'm not sure what district they're in anymore. We'll find out during the interview.
Yep. Yeah.
So
yeah, that's going to be hard.
Well, and I understand like there's the FEC, which is the most up to date place, which is where the ballot PD gets it off of. But it's a lot harder to search the FEC for the information that you're looking for when you need it at a quick glance. Like, what's the next day that the election's held? Well, August 4th.
Yep.
That's when your primaries are. Okay, well, then again, do you know how many states have a September primary date?
Are
There's
there
one.
any? No. I complain
Yes.
about August 4th.
There's one. September, I think it's 2nd this year is when the date is. Yeah, so you find out 6 weeks before you're supposed to go vote who the representatives are, who the candidates are. It's like, that is stressful.
Yeah.
That's so stressful.
That's
Again,
that's hard on candidates too. I mean, especially the way the finance laws are, getting that deep into it. And yeah, where is that? Where is that state?
where is that, Kayla? Yeah, the general election is November 3rd. Oh, say okay. That may be the state I was thinking of.
September. No, she says her primary is September 8th. But what state,
Right.
Kayla?
She said it was New
Oh,
Hampshire.
New Hampshire. Oh, wow.
Yeah, so like there is, and that was part of what blew my mind, is there are states where July, August, September for their primaries. No, if no, no, that's too close to the deadline. And then people last minute are trying to scramble and get an even wider, spectrum of people rather outside of just the small group that they already got that voted them up. I mean, that's just, I know it's already stressful for people who didn't even have a challenger and they're running all the way through November 3rd. I can't imagine what it's like to have, X amount of people, and it's more than 2 or 3 all waiting until that late of a date to find out whether or not they're going even to the next step.
Yep. Yeah.
And you're right, Kayla. That's why we're getting to know our candidates now. Okay, so I did take a look at that. And so I know that you ran for the same spot in 2022 and 2024. So it looks like you were one of those people
2024 was an error on Ballotpedia, and they will not correct it. I did not run in 2024. I did run in 2022. In 2022, I ran for this seat. We had a 12-year incumbent in Jamie Herrera Butler that was, she was terrible, but she voted for Trump's impeachment after January 6th. So MAGA came for her. And he's been in the news recently. Joe Kent had been running to try and unseat Jamie. I was in that race for over a year, and then Marie came into the race in March of the election year. It was March of election year, and we had been doing polling, or there had been polling being done on our race every quarter, and we're a top 2 primary state, and it's very rare that the top 2 ends up being 2 from the same party. But all of a sudden, when Marie got in, we had a vote split between her and I that was going to elevate Jamie Herrera Butler and Joe Kent to the general, which was then going to have Democrats running around saying we have to vote for Jamie. We can't have Joe Kent. And that was unacceptable to me because Jamie Herrera Butler and her stance on reproductive access and just so many issues, I was like, there is nothing more important to me than getting Jamie out of office. So I stepped out of the race, withdrew my name, and never appeared on the ballot to unify Democrats behind Marie because she was unwilling. She didn't care about the vote split. It was, I don't know what it was, and I'm not going to over speculate on it. But she was unwilling to step out, and at the time I was polling 8 points ahead of Marie, but that was also polling at that time 13 points behind Jamie because of this vote split. So I removed my name from the ballot and unified Democrats behind Marie to get rid of Jamie in the primary. And I had hoped Marie would be a good Democrat, but none of us. That was between March and early May is our filing week. We just passed ours here now this year. We didn't know anything about Marie at the time other than she said she was a Democrat. She came out and said, no, I'm a Democrat, and I was elected to the DNC to represent the state of Washington, and that's about what we knew. So you just assumed, okay, here we have a Democrat that's going to vote like a Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's turned out to be anything but. Anything but. I mean, she couldn't even be bothered last cycle to endorse Kamala Harris. She didn't endorse Bob Ferguson for governor, who was our state attorney general, who worked his rear end off to help Marie get elected in 22, and he was running for governor. Couldn't endorse him. Couldn't endorse our state party chair, Shasti Conrad, to be a DNC vice chair. Chose to give up her seat at the DNC convention and literally was one of those ballots from Washington that just didn't vote towards endorsement, because if you don't show up, you don't get your vote counted. So, it was like, this person is not on our team. And it was when the SAVE Act vote happened in March of last year, or third SAVE Act, the one that actually got people's attention, that my phone just started ringing off the hook. My DMs started blowing up with people just going, Brent, we need you to run again. Like, we need an actual Democrat in this seat. And I spoke to my family, spoke to the people that advised me, and we decided that it was time. We'd seen enough of her voting record to know, and since then, it's only gotten worse.
Yep. And a lot of times that can be shown by how many people are running for a seat. How bad is it? When you sit there and you start talking about double-digit people running for a seat, whether, between the two sides or even on one side, that kind of goes to show that maybe there's something going on, especially when it's a seat that in the past only had like one or two people running for it, maybe 3, 4 at the most. And all of a sudden you see double that. That's very telling. In politics, that is very telling. There are so many seats this year that are not going unchallenged, that went unchallenged so many cycles in a row. And now people are like, no, everything is being challenged. There's so many different challenges because what we can see as a consensus, we're done. As a consensus, the wrong pony has been backed for the last time. And we can see that because we have people like you who have people reaching out and saying, hey, we need you to run. People like Ethan Wedgelek, people like Eric Kopp, Tim Sawinski, Adam Dunnigan, Jeremy DeVito. Like, it's time. I see a lot of millennials and Gen X stepping up. There's some Gen Z, good for them, but really millennials, Gen X guys, we're in our 40s, 50s, late 30s. Do we really want to be shown up by Gen Z that's barely out of diapers and can barely wipe their own nose? I mean, don't get me wrong. I love you. I love you guys. But really, when we look at the grand scheme of things, we're looking at 20 to 26-year-olds stepping up when it really should be the 40 and 50-year-olds' time to step up and do the job. It is. Yeah. It's time to take it away from the old guard. It's time to take it away from the people who are so set in the archaic ways, instead of saying, hey, maybe guys, maybe we need to stop looking and trying to take our country back 100 years and start trying to go forward 100 years in human rights. That'd be fantastic. Yeah. I don't want the 1950s again. All I have to say is if you take away no-fault divorce, I will be offering a 3-cent essential oil called Water Fairy Tofana. You do with that what you will.
It's just what the Republicans right now. I mean, they are not going to be happy until white male landowners are the only people that can vote. They're not going to stop, and then they're going to put in some wealth level that makes it so I can't even vote. I don't know what it is, but it's just going to be. You can see it, and people that say that I'm being hysterical about it. No, I'm not. They are systematically, step by step, doing everything they can to undo any sort of improvements in human rights, in civil rights, in voting rights over the last 150 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are. We see it left and right. We hear the talk about them wanting to take away women's right to vote. And if you haven't heard that rhetoric, oh, please, my friends, just go scroll through Red Pill TikTok for 5 minutes. You'll hear it all over the place. You can find the podcast. You can find the clips. It's not hard to find if you just go into Google. It's all over the place. And there's so many people who are trying to convince this new generation that traditional values, traditional ways means it's the man who provides, it's the man who works, it's the woman who's at home taking care of the kids. That's how it's supposed to be. If you actually understand traditional values, it's so much more than that. And that is just what they want you to believe, because that is the nuclear family lifestyle. And it's much easier to keep women separated and away from their families and keep women and children in constant states of abuse. States. It really is. The nuclear system, the nuclear family, it can be tied back to the 1920s through now. It was pushed really hard in the 1930s and 40s, and it was literally designed to break families apart so that women did not have their mothers, their sisters, their aunts, their cousins to lean on, that they were isolated. Don't believe me? Please, again, go do your research. It's in black and white. It really is.
No, but they all done
that is
their
why
research. That's the problem. Is they're all in the comment section that they did their research on YouTube.
Right.
Jessica Nursick, I don't know if you know her from, she does health and wellness TikTok and whatnot, and she's, kind of trying to combat the Maha movement. She's always pointing out, no, you didn't do your research. You looked at somebody else's video that had the same garbage in it that you wanted in yours. That's not doing your research.
Which is why I start sitting there going, now. No, I absolutely, it's like, do your research. Let me give you the terms to look up so you can connect the dots yourself. It's not hard. Women's suffrage, okay? You guys need to know what women's suffrage is and why it's so important and what started it. It literally started because women were tired of men marrying their 10-year-old daughters. That is why it started. It's because women got tired of men marrying their 10-year-old daughters who were children. Fucking children. Yeah. You won't even look at my daughter the way you look at me. You won't have eyeballs anymore. Like, that is me being nice and polite about it and not unaliving you. Because here's the thing is, yes, they're children. I understand why we fight the states that want to turn it back to 12 for the age of consent, which I'm not sorry to say is disgusting. The fact that they want to call 15-year-olds underage women, the fact that they sit there and say the issue with the birth rate is 15 to 19-year-olds are not have enough kids because it's down by 72% since the 90s. I thought that was what we were trying to accomplish. That's what we were trying to achieve.
It's not what they wanted us to accomplish. It is what we did work for, and we should be proud of it.
I thought that
I'm wearing Planned Parenthood pink on Mother's Day. I stand for reproductive rights, and there's not a line in the sand that you can draw that I cannot immediately point out the person on the other side of that line and why we cannot legislate them out. You cannot come up with a line. It's between a doctor, it's between a patient, it's between who the patient invites into the room with the doctor, and that's it. And we should hand out condoms. We should have Plan B available. We should have these things. People make bad decisions. People get raped. People get put into like other positions. No, just make it normal. My daughter has had under her bathroom sink a basket for years just to make it normal, which it's under also my 11-year-old son's sink, also underneath my 7-year-old daughter's sink, because they all use the same bathroom sink. But there was a basket in there that had I don't know, something like 500 condoms, 6 pregnancy tests, 4 sets of Plan B, 6 doses of Narcan, and there's something else in there. I can't remember what it is, but it was like, just make it normal, make it not weird, so that like when they need this item, it's there. I mean, I don't expect my daughter to need Narcan for herself, but it is proven right now that carrying Narcan in your glove box can save a life. You can be driving by, and to make it so you're not scared of it, put it somewhere where people see it every single day. And we do want a low birth rate for the 15 to 19-year-olds. We do not want them in high school carrying a child and trying to figure out how to do their classwork and raise a child. No, we want them to make teenage mistakes and learn from them and go forward. That's what we want.
We want kids to be kids.
People ask me.
Babies having babies.
Yeah. People ask me, what's my skeleton in the closet? Oh, dig deep, please. You'll find that when I was 21, I got a DUI. And you know what happened? I went through DUI diversion. I learned my lesson. And in the 26 years since, I've gotten 0 DUIs because I learned my lesson. Like, I'm not proud that I got a DUI. I don't think I want my kids to get a DUI. I was in a situation where no one was hurt. I got pulled over for a bad lane change. But the simple fact is, I took the punishment and I learned my lesson. I want my daughter to make some poor choices, not bad choices, but to learn the lessons so that later in life you don't make the mistakes when the costs are much higher. You know, and so allowing them to have these items around so they're not, you know, having to face bigger, heavier questions is just so normal to me. And I was raised in a house that had condoms in a bowl on a counter. And that was just normal. It was never a thing to say, oh, we're encouraging, you know, but there's also reality, you know, that things are going to happen.
You know, I can remember my mom sitting there going, she would prefer me to wait until I was out of school to start getting physically intimate with anyone. But if I ever decided to, she preferred me to do it in my own home rather than in the backseat of somebody's car, and to let her know so she could provide me with condoms beforehand to make sure I did not have any unwanted pregnancies. Fantastic. That is how parents should handle it.
I don't want to have that much of a discussion with my daughter. They're there. She knows what they're used for. And I hope that if that happens, then she'll be prepared.
This was also back in the 90s, so. But that's just the same thing as this. I've had similar conversations with my son. You know, he had his first girlfriend at 12. He's now almost 15 and had no interest. He's like, he likes girls, but he'd rather play his video games. I'm like, dude, I am okay with that. Please continue just playing your video games till after college. Then you can think about girls.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
Let's get all the schooling done, guys, and then you can go find your life partner. Don't do it the way your mom did, which was had the kid, found the guy, went to school, got the career. Ass backwards.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your platform. What is your platform? If you had to detail it out for me.
Well, right now, I mean, so every candidate has their top 3, but where we're at right now, we have to have a top 4. We have to have holding government accountable, and I mean holding Trump accountable and his entire administration. Because right now, you know, they're taking. We were in a fascist takeover, and there's no oversight, no accountability at all, and so that has to be goal number 1: is accountability for the next 2 years. Impeachments, but oversight and finding out. I mean, how the heck you just transferred $10 billion to your board of peace? You know, like, what are you talking about? No, we need to look into those things. I want to make sure beyond that we're working the steps to get to universal health care. And by universal health care, I mean universal single payer health care where every person in this country is able to just go in, get the health care they need, that the health care their doctor prescribes is what they're given. No group going, oh, well, that we're not sure, and that's experiment. No. The doctors are educated. The pencil pushers are not. Let the doctors prescribe what's right for the patient. Let the patient choose to or to decline treatment. That's up to them. But that everyone has access. And that's going to take a lot of work, a lot of steps. Step 1, we increase the income threshold for Medicaid. Step 2, we decrease the age for Medicare. Step 3, we add a option where you can pay if you're in that income bracket just under, where you make just a little too much to be on Medicaid, where you pay a subsidized, you pay $30 a month, you pay $60 a month, and you and your family are now covered under Medicaid. We have to fix Medicaid payouts. We have to fix Medicare payouts. I don't question those things. Those have to happen anyways because we have programs that we're offering to people where we don't have providers that will take them, and I'm well aware of that. But the bigger picture is we do those things. We then take a step towards the VA. The VA needs a lot of fixes, but one of those things can be increased funding in the VA where we offer, instead of the VA to only handle medical issues that are directly associated with time of service, that we allow the VA to be a full-service medical provider for active duty, retired veterans, and their families to where they're getting single-payer, direct health care through that system. That system will also will give us baseline numbers of what it would really cost per person to be able to provide health care to every person in this country. But we got to work the steps, and we as Democrats have to start admitting our mistakes or people aren't going to believe us as we're going forward. Every one of these steps that I've suggested is going to have hiccups, and we've got to own them, and we've got to come out in front of the damn train and say, hey, that didn't work so well, but look, we changed it for 30,000 people, not 300 million people, so that we were trying for them, and we're going to try better, and we're going to make an adjustment. The Affordable Care Act was great, and then Democrats ran on it for 12 freaking years we passed the Affordable Care Act. All the while, the insurance companies were buying up other parts of the healthcare industry to make it the Unaffordable Care Act. And now we're standing here going, it's right when the Republicans call it that. And it is right that the Democrats passed it. But the Democrats never went for step 2. I have no problem being Oliver Twist and saying, please, sir, may I have some more? We have to. That is what private industry will do to anything. If you make a rule and leave it there, their lawyers, their loophole finders will go forward. They will find a way to squeeze the profit out of it. Mm-hmm. So we got to close those doors. When they find new ones, close those. But we need to make sure that healthcare, that profit does not exist anywhere in healthcare in this country. Yeah. That healthcare is not for profit. Since this is long form and I have time to discuss my former job, I used to travel the world as an on-site project manager. I was in France. I was still jet lagged, but we were starting our project, and I managed, metal shaving right kind of in the fatty part by my wedding ring. Got in there and went right when it happened. I knew not to, but I clenched my fist because it hurt, and I jammed that metal shaving down into my finger. And my finger swelled up over the next hour like it was 2.5. It looked like a German bratwurst by the time it was whatnot. And I'm on the phone trying to call back to our corporate office in California from Lyon, France. 9 hours behind. Nobody's awake. Like, how do you use Blue Cross Blue Shield in France? And finally, one of my coworkers from France grabbed my arm, took me down the road to a doctor's office where we went in. He was speaking French to the lady checking in, and she said, "Oh, you need to write your name on this clipboard." And I said, "Okay," wrote it down. And right then, a nurse popped out from another door and said, "Hey, Brent Hennrich, come back this way." So my coworker and I walk back. We go back to the room because I'm thinking I'm going to need him to translate possibly or whatnot. And so we go back there, and she looks at it. She wipes some stuff on it. 2 seconds later, a doctor walks in. He's got a little mini lancing scalpel and some tweezers. He looks at it. Apparently what she had done is numbed it a little bit. He makes a little cut, goes in there with tweezers, pops out this little metal shaving, puts on some Neosporin, puts on a Band-Aid, and hands me another Band-Aid. And I'm like, what are you, okay? And he's like, I'm like, what's this for? He goes, well, the swelling's going to go down. You're going to have to replace the Band-Aid. I was like, oh, okay. And he was like, that's it. You're good. You're done. We walked out. I never saw a bill. Never paid a copay, no deductible. No, I needed health care and just got it. Like, why isn't that a thing here? I call because my kid has the sound of whooping cough or whatever. The school has sent out the memo. Be careful. We had 2 cases of whooping cough, and then your kid is barking in the middle of the night, and you're calling, and they're like, well, what's your insurance? Like, does it matter that my kid is sick right now? Like, and that the school is worried about this, having an outbreak? And so really we have to go through my insurance right now? Like, has it changed since last week? No, it hasn't changed since last week. And if it had, I would have told you. And so these are the things that we can reduce stress in people's lives. We can overall just do better. So that's my long form point on healthcare. I want to make sure that we're investing in education, and under education, I want to make sure that that's all day childcare. I want people to be able to work one job and be able to have somebody watch over their child during the day, but them raise their child as they see fit in the evening. All day childcare and the childcare deserts need to be addressed, and that's a federal problem. So I want to make sure that's in there. But a big thing is in K-12 education, we need to bring back home ec. We need to bring back these different versions of shop class. We need to help the next generation decide what is right for them. We need electricians. We need plumbers. We need framers. We need concrete workers. We need finish carpenters. We need these things for the homes that we're in a deficit of right now to get built. We also need more medical providers, mental therapists. We still need art history PhDs to tell us what in the heck happened in the past so that we know to not, repeat these same mistakes. We need people that are going to go back and look at history and then look at things now and look at this and say, wait, we got that wrong. Really, we need those academics as well. But what we need is people not being shoved. I was shoved. College is the only way. College is the only way. I graduated high school. I took 2.5 years off. I continued working at movie theaters, and I was still getting it all the time. So I left. I went to Louisiana State University. I did 2 years there, and it was not for me. I was having a great time. School and I were not, it wasn't for me. And I was lucky that my parents had been able to pay my tuition and that I was able to say, hey, we're literally just wasting money here. I'm having a great time. And they said, come home. And I came home and I'm truly fortunate that I have no looming debts from doing that. and I know how fortunate I am for that. But I got out. I didn't sit there and end up with a degree that I don't know what to do with, because K to 12 said that's the only way. We have to do better for our up and coming, to make sure that we have the people to run the economy of the next generation. We also need to continue the Biden level infrastructure investments. Those were creating jobs, good jobs, all across the country. Right where I'm at is the I-5 bridge, which I-5 connects Canada to Mexico, runs right through Southwest Washington. The I-5 bridge I'm speaking of, because obviously there's multiple on that long run, but is the connection between Vancouver, Washington, and Portland, Oregon. The definition of a federal project. It's connecting two states. It's the largest pipeline or truck line for products in the United States. Stuff is absolutely. We have more. Why can I not think of the right term right now? I'm drawing a blank. But more dollars of products moving up and down through that corridor. And so it is vital. And the bridge is we have currently is two bridges that were built over 100 years ago that are not seismically structured for what we know now is going to be a large earthquake. Those bridges will come down. But we also have 15 years of Oregon legislators, Washington legislators working together, working against each other, and then working together again on this project, that we need somebody that's going to come in at the federal level and just find dollars for it and not stick their finger into the project like our current representative has. She's pushed them back over 2.5 years by walking in and saying, I don't like the design. I don't like it. Who cares? This is 15 years in the making. We are not allowed to change the ingredients in the cake. All we're allowed to do is find money to make sure that we get to ice the cake. That's it. Stay out of the kitchen. And so I want to make sure that I'm doing that everybody talks about rural broadband. Yeah, and rural broadband is still a problem in my 7,600 square mile district, because Biden put out all this money and Comcast scooped it up and said, oh, yeah, we'll do that. And then they haven't. And all they have is excuses as to why they haven't. I have to drive out Highway 6 from I-5 to get to the Pacific Coast where my district goes to. Going along there, I'm estimating 1,000 feet, 2,000 feet along the road, there's an orange pole sticking up. That orange pole demarks where the main fiber line that connects from Portland, Oregon to the coast is running under farmers' fields, under Highway 6. It's right there. None of those people have internet access. That is crazy. They have the main line of the internet going under their feet, but they cannot have internet access. No, we need to give that out to the next bidder that's willing to get out there and do the work. So those are my top 3/4.
Gotcha. So I have the accountability, the healthcare, education. So what would you put as your fourth one? Internet?
Infrastructure.
Okay.
Infrastructure overall. Just
okay.
The Biden level infrastructure, projects. I mean, we've got failing roads and bridges all over. We've got old water systems. We've got that we need to be fixing it there. What?
I grew up in Snohomish.
Okay.
So I'm more than well aware of a lot of the issues going on in Washington, because a lot of my friends still live there. High school reunions are still there. Best friends still live there. And I do talk to them probably once every few months. And we've talked about some of this stuff. And I wish it was better everywhere. And the more I hear, well, this company got money, but they never did anything. This company bid for it, and they never did anything. They paid all this money to these different companies, and nothing's gotten better for the people because they haven't used it for the things they said they would. That's a problem. I'll bring up Meta. Meta is in our state. They are building a $10 billion campus just 40 minutes from me. What they've decided to do is when they're building it, they will be using our potable water sources to do the cooling, and they will be just putting the water right back in without cleaning it, because instead of cleaning it, they're just going to find us new potable water sources. They're going to make them. That's their solution to our problem, is they will just make us new water sources.
You're in Arizona?
Indiana.
Okay, sorry, I thought I heard something Arizona earlier, so I was going to say that'd be amazing in Arizona to find just a new water source, but
even here,
I'm not sure. Yeah, it's
you have
ridiculous.
to understand it's the clean water sources, because Indiana has some of the worst water in the United States. It is so damn dirty and contaminated because we have so many states that feed into the White River that do not actually clean the water before it gets to us. So it gets to us contaminated. Yeah. It's fantastic. But living in Washington, one of the big things is the environment. Oh my good Lord. When I lived there, green everything, green recycling. We got paid to sort our recycling. They reduced our trash bill instead of making us pay more like in this state. If we want to recycle, we have to pay the state to let us recycle.
That's just ridiculous.
In my opinion, that's counterintuitive. Why should I have to pay you an extra $40 every month for you to take my recycling that I sorted for you?
Yeah.
Money was donated by the federal government, $20 million. Live on the Great Lakes. We have waterproof water. Thank you, Dow Chemical. They have waterproof water. Yes. Thank you, the chemicals.
Yeah, and the person I'm running to replace just voted to loosen EPA restrictions on building permits. That they don't have to do the environmental and climate studies on the impacts of data centers as they're being put in.
So we're aware that they already rolled back the federal EPA standards last summer, and then about 2 months ago,
there was some a few months ago.
Well, I was going to say, and a few months ago, they made a federal law stating that no state's EPA can be more strict or stringent than the federal government's, meaning the federal government is the maximum that any state can do, not the minimum, which again is counterintuitive in my opinion. The federal government should always be the bare minimum, but basically if the federal government doesn't care, the states no longer have to care.
Yeah, but then there was recently, there was a thing that had to do with acid rain, but that the states can no longer be held accountable if it's not directly attributable to the state, but to a company in the state. The state no longer can be held to the EPA requirements for air quality to stop acid rain. And then it was in one of the most recent bills that allowed that federal projects no longer have to meet the carbon consumption goals to be LEED certified. So therefore, all these federal buildings now will be LEED certified, but can burn as much fossil fuel as they want to. So throws LEED certification out the window. But then there was another one that was any project that, basically was going to affect outside of just one state. So a data center that would be hosting data for all states, they do not have to go through any pre-stuff on climate and environmental review of what's going to happen by them building there. So, it's crazy.
Let's see. They raised their house tax to pay for the new electrical plant. 10 years and now it's shut down. You're still paying for the electrical plant. So you're saying you're still paying for the electrical plant 10 years later, and even though it's shut down? What state are you in, Eric? They took away your car inspections. Thanks, free starters. So in New Hampshire, they took away car inspections. You're in Michigan. See, but that's a lot of stuff
We got rid of car inspections in Washington too. But we got rid of them, and we did that a few years ago because they literally found that it was, at this point, they weren't catching, I mean, on all the newer vehicles, they weren't catching anything. They were having everybody show up, and somebody simply pointed out the amount of gas that was burned trying to go to a check station and then waiting in line and then them checking it was doing more damage to our environment than what they were finding for bad vehicles. The problem is then all the diesel bros went and did their delete kits and run around rolling coal everywhere now because they don't ever have to get inspected. But, overall, I'm not, I'm a car guy, and I think there's limits within things. I mean, like the fact of that, exotic cars have to meet any standard is ridiculous to me, because talking about cars that are going to drive 1,500 miles in their entire lifetime, who really cares about what they're doing? Let's concentrate on, what the everyday car is, and how plug-in hybrids are truly the way to go. And in my opinion, and from what the data I've seen, and that we've prioritized the wrong things. And again, these are Democrat policies. All we have to do is say, we got it wrong. We're doing better now. We're trying to do better, and people will understand. But it's this whole thing of the Democrats dig in, just like the Republicans are like, no, we never admit you were wrong. No, I get further ahead every day by admitting when I make a mistake. It's what we're all fallible. So we have to admit the mistakes. And I think that's what a lot I'm seeing from a lot of Democrats, or Democrat, leaning independents that are running this year are doing. They're just being honest, owning mistakes, and they're going forward. And I think that's what the public has been waiting for.
Perfect example. We had Jordan Herrera on yesterday. He and one of the viewers got in a little bit argument until he popped out for a second, because I double checked the information. I said, oh, okay, so it says XYZ, because we were talking about the 14th Amendment in one of the states. And so he popped back, and he goes, I am so sorry. You were right. I was wrong. I got my amendments mixed up. And he's a constitutional lawyer, even sitting there going, this is what I do for a living, and I screwed up. I'm sorry. Thank you for your correction. Thank you for helping me verify that information. Just sitting there saying, even though this is what I do for a living, I screwed up. I got it mixed up. That's on me. But it proved the whole accountability, just being able to take that step back, say, hey, I'm human. I screwed up too. It happens to the best of us. Let me apologize and make it right. And then let's make sure it doesn't happen again in the future. Because that's how I teach my kids, because we're adults. We're humans. As the adult, you set the example. I screw up. I snap at my kid. I'll sit them down 10, 15, 20 minutes later and go, okay, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have snapped at you. However, let's talk about what your actions did and how you kept pushing me to that point. And on the same note, it was not okay that I snapped at you and I took it out on you. However, I was already agitated. I had asked you to not continue that line of, to take a step back, and you wouldn't stop. And I snapped. I'm human. I made a mistake. But my kids have seen me throughout their entire life. Every time I do that, I take ownership, I apologize, and I do better. It's part of the reason why my kids don't have the same traumas I did. Anybody else grow up with parents who are always right and never wrong, no matter what you did? Or was that just me?
You want me to admit that on Mother's Day on a live stream? Are you kidding?
So I'll take that as yes. Yes, you do know what I'm talking about.
Did anybody else grow up with parents that saw the 10 o'clock news that had the ad that said, it's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your kids are?
Where your kids are? God, we are
People
so
don't
old.
believe me that was a thing. I'm like, oh yes, it was every night
Oh
on every network
yeah, at
on the
10
big
p.m.
three.
Do you know where your kids are? Yeah, motherfucker, they're in bed, or they better be. Pleading the fifth means you're guilty, pretty much. And I'm sorry
Yeah.
that you guys have that issue with, your town's corruption being that bad. Welcome in, everyone. So no, well, let's get back into healthcare, reproductive
Okay.
rights in your state. How even though there are states that have reproductive rights and do have bodily autonomy and allow women to choose, they're becoming smaller and smaller and smaller. And they're talking about, I know, and I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it's the Right to Life at Conception Act, the Life at Conception Act. But anyway, so there's
Sounds terrible.
they're trying to push it through basically for fetal personhood, basically stating the second you conceive, that is a person and needs to be treated as such. So if anything happens to that while incubating in the mother's body, it's murder and the mother should be held accountable. That is literally the Life of Conception Act. It is the foundation to have a total national AB ban, despite the fact that they want to leave it in the hands of the states.
Yeah, and I obviously would 100% be against that. All I can say is I have to say that I'm 100% against that, because even the funny, or not funny, but other things you could do to it is say, okay, so you're telling me that, why am I drawing a blank on it, when parents get divorced and another parent, child support
Yeah.
starts at conception. You're telling me that the tax deduction starts at conception. You're telling me that that the carpooling happens at conception. No, they're getting no to all of that stuff. So then, no, it's it's so ridiculous. I have held my own 20-week-old fetus daughter after having to give the order to push Pitocin to put my wife back into labor after we stopped labor when my wife was on an epidural and on so many drugs and so much blood loss that she couldn't make a comprehensible decision, and started to bleed again. And the doctor said, "We've got seconds. You can pray or you can act." And I was like, "We have to save Amber. Push the Pitocin now." And it's like, and we held our daughter, and we grieve with it. We live with it, but no, like, these people are. She wasn't a fetal personhood at that point, and at that point, I'm sorry. Even if she was, I picked my wife that produced two more amazing children since then over her. It was emotionally draining and a lot to deal with, and years. It's been 12 years to deal with, where that it's all, this is our life and everything else. But for somebody to say, "Oh no, picking your wife was capital murder," no, and step into a closet with me and say that.
Yep.
Just
No, I
that's
agree with
it.
you. And I genuinely, I am so sorry you and your wife had to go through that. That is not an experience anybody wants to go through. And there's a lot of these people that don't understand. That is people's lived experience, and they will never understand until they're put in a situation like that. I was in my early to mid 20s. I was X amount of weeks pregnant. The baby passed away inside of me. My body
Yep.
was not getting rid of it. I
Yep.
was septic. It was 5 weeks past the fetal heartbeat stopping, and they finally agreed to do a DNC because I was septic. And I live in a state where at the time there was no abortion ban. They just wouldn't touch you for various reasons because, oh, well, your body needs to do it naturally. That was the excuse I was given by 3 different hospitals as I was actively dying.
Yeah,
So
no, and it's just it's yeah, no. I mean, it comes down to some of these people want to say these things and say your body will do things. I'm like, have you ever met with a perinatologist? The people look at you funny, like, well, what's that? Like, I thought gynecology. Yeah, this is when the gynecologists are priced out of the room, and you need to go to the next level. To the my wife's perinatologist had to be shared by two different health systems because it's so specialized and it's so damn expensive to deal with. And this is a term and a person that we got to know on a first name basis over 5 weeks while we were dealing with my wife's complicated pregnancy and our second or our son afterwards. She had to go through perinatology with that one because they wanted to monitor everything at every step to make sure that everything went fine. But it's just like these people are so uninformed. They're woefully uninformed of what it is. And they're woefully uninformed of, oh, well, every state has a law that when the life of the mother is on the line. I say yes. But in my wife's instance, had I been in a state with that law and it was active, the time it would have took to get the legal department on the phone, for the legal department to look over the chart, to whatever, she would have been dead already. So
yep.
it doesn't matter. The fact is that you made a rule that added a time hurdle into something that cannot have a time hurdle. It just doesn't work. And they know that at their heart of hearts. They want that because they want the punishment to the woman. That is their goal, is the punishment. So the woman dying with the fetus dying as well inside is fine to them, but they were able to say, no, it wasn't our fault. We had whatever. We can't control how fast the lawyers, reacted.
Yeah.
Lawyers are not sitting in their office at 2:30 a.m., waiting around for the next legal crisis to happen. They're in bed, sleeping, waiting to whatever. They're in conferences. They're off at whatever. You don't get one like that when you need it.
No, you don't.
Or not a competent one. And so we're talking about people judging the level of sickness of another human as to whether or not that human qualifies for. No, it is a hard no. It is 100% pro-choice. It is 100% bodily autonomy. What you want in your body is what you allow, and when you say no, that's where it stops. Whether it's consensual sex, whether it's something growing inside of you, whether it's a tattoo, whether it's contact lenses, I don't care. What you want to put into your body is up to you. And when you don't want to do that anymore, then it's up to you.
Yeah. Honestly, some things in this world are a lot more complicated than they need to be. When it comes to bodily autonomy, that should be an unspoken thing. Everybody should have it. I'm not sorry when I say if you have full bodily autonomy, which you do, so should I. It should not be any different just because I don't have a ding-a-ling swinging between my legs.
Well, yeah, and on that, I mean, I've already talked to my daughter. You can give consent and then withdraw it. It's your body, so it doesn't matter if 5 minutes ago you said okay. If you say no now, it's no. And anybody around you better understand that. And that's where it's same with, the number of people using pregnancy for birth control is so low because the emotional drain, the physical drain, the monetary drain, that is not a thing. But even if it is, I don't fucking care. I don't, because it is so necessary for people to have access that I am not going to go out on the extreme. I found one case in one state this one time, and there was that one time at band camp, and there was this one time my cousin's sisters, whatever. Like, no, we don't legislate that way. We do not make laws based upon whatever, and I sure as heck am not going to do it based upon because you think it should be that way. So, sorry, I get animated on this topic.
I love it. No, if you're not animated, believe me, I'm going to be the animated one. Have you not seen the Pokemon? I mean, like, seriously, I got a Gigamax Pikachu behind me. Like, no. Here's the thing is, I love passion. That's what we need. If you look at a lot of the people who succeed and a lot of people who don't, the ones who are sitting there, the ones who are keeping their power, when they talk to you, they don't actually have a whole lot of passion in their voices anymore. And it's robotic. It feels like they've been given a script to speak. And then I have people like you, and people like Jordan, and people like Ethan, and people like this, and people like that, who, no, you're just animated, and you give us the truth, and you're authentic, and you're real, and you're raw. And that's what we want, and that's what we need, because we are so tired of everything else. I want people who are doing this for the right goddamn reasons, because they are so tired of the injustices they see in the world around them that they understand that this is the only way anything's going to change, and they're willing to be part of the change. They are willing to be the change they want to see.
I am ready to go to DC. I am ready to compromise tomorrow, but I'm not compromising my morals, and I'm not compromising your rights. That's it. That's the hard line, and that's what I'm ready to do. We can compromise on my education funding that I want. I can go and say, okay, I want this much, and you're only going to give me half. Okay, and I will come back the next day and say, I want that other half. But I am not going to compromise on other human rights. It's just an absolute non-starter.
No, the fact that is actually, believe it or not, the one thing I look for is, how do you feel about human rights? Do you think everybody deserves the same basic human rights? Or do you think there's certain subclasses that don't for any reason? If you think
there are
no
subclasses. The only place that I will admit that there are subclasses is that there are subclasses that need extra protection because we have villainized them through history, and that it is our job to do better and to make sure that that stops. And that's the only reason they should be singled out for anything, is for more protection. To make sure that hate crimes are classified as such and they are prosecuted as such. But no, there is no one less than. We are all humans.
Yep. You know, I will hear people, they'll come in and, oh, well, I support my race. What, the human race? No, my race. I have to get them to tell me, like, what do you feel is your race? Oh, the black race. And a lot of, it is always black people. I was like, oh, so basically the human race, because otherwise, I'm not sorry when I say this, are you an alien? Because if it's not the human race, then what race are you? Because I'm not sorry to say that you're just referencing a color of pigmentation. We are just different levels of pigmentation. Quite literally, if I peel off your skin and then I start at your fascial tissue, which is actually the layer that attaches your skin to your muscles, from that point down, unless you have the mirror issue going on, you're going to be the same exact underneath as me. I'm a husband, and him, and her, and that person, and that person. I know I work on the body every day. I deal with human anatomy. Underneath the surface of what we look like, we are the same exact underneath. We all have the same organs, the same muscles, the same tendons, the same sinews. Everything is the same. So how are we a different race? Because last I checked, I'm freckled. I'm polka dotted.
Yeah.
But seriously, we are all one. So to hear them sit there and say immigration, well, let's grab, X, Y, and Z, and then they're just indiscriminately grabbing off the streets. And then I hear, well, no, they're not. Yes, they are.
Okay.
Most recently,
I'll say no, they're not. I'll fight you on that, because no, they aren't. They are picking and choosing to make sure what they're taking strikes the most fear. They're not grabbing the easiest. They're not grabbing the criminals. They are out there for show of force to try and terrorize this country into a level of compliance that Donald Trump wants. They're not necessarily, it's indiscriminate as to the person, but they are doing it in situations specifically for the terror element of it.
No, you're right.
It, it
They are.
it's you know they've stopped with the stopping at Home Depot and getting 8 people that are looking for day work. They're now doing the rip them out of their car, leave their car running in an intersection, grandiose. We know there's going to be 20 cell phone cameras on us right now. They're doing it for the show and to show that they can. And that is the terrifying part.
And this was 2 days ago. I was reading this article, and I have it flagged. But it was a lady who had gone to her appointment, her last appointment. It's 2 weeks before she gets sworn in, all of that stuff. She's got her 2 kids with her. Case is closed. Everything's great. She walks out. They don't grab her. They grab her 2 kids who are legal American citizens. They were born on the soil. Their dad is a legal American citizen. They said they would return her children to her only if she agreed to be deported with them. Otherwise, they're going to hold them indefinitely in a detention facility.
Yeah, it's I jokingly say we have enough lawyers. Obviously, we don't, because we need more that are willing to work on this, to work for a measly wage where a nonprofit can whatever. But we need brilliant legal minds to get out there and to fight this. But we don't have that, because lawyers are, the ones that are working it the best they can. But obviously the rest of them are selfish, because they're not giving up, 10 hours a week to this. They're not, and they need to. And right now that's where we are. But I want to see ICE 100% fully dismantled. Like gone. There is no way to retrain empathy into a group that was hired specifically for their lack of empathy. It just can't happen. We need to redirect that funding to the courts. We need to get people processed, because we need this. No one's illegal, but we do have people that are undocumented and unprocessed because our system is broken, and so we haven't gotten them processed. We need to get that done. We will need an enforcement arm, for there are going to be those that the judges say, nope, you don't qualify. They're going to be there. Right now, we can use the FBI and the U.S. Marshals, but we can rebuild an enforcement arm that answers only to that judiciary, no one else, and let them say, okay, this person is standing in front of us in the courtroom, is being told no, I need you to detain him while he's standing right here, and he goes off to detention. Is allowed to get his appeal in. Appeal says he gets to stay. Okay, he gets to stay. Appeal says no. Then they move him from there and they deport back to. It's common sense. But we don't take people on their way into that courtroom. That's not okay. We are a nation of laws. We believe in due process, even though it's broken often. But we still give every person due process. And the fact that people voted for the Lake and Riley Act and such that were removing due process is un-American and unthinkable.
So Eric's going, I'd like to know what he thinks we can do about the economy. Things are going to get bad.
Right now, my thoughts on the economy are, again, it's Trump oversight, but we have to get rid of the ridiculous tariffs. There's no question on that. We need to stop the war in Iran. That's a genie out of the bottle, situation, or I guess more accurate, it's somebody that opened their purple mattress and is trying to put it back in the box it came in. There's going to be hard times ahead, and we have to know that, especially because of fuel and fertilizer, with the Strait of Hormuz and how things are going over there. But I think right now that it's a matter of we're going to stop the tariffs. We're going to undo a lot of the big, beautiful bill, and we're going to make sure that we're giving tax breaks to those in the working class and that we're taxing the rich to make sure they pay their fair share. Those things are going to stimulate things and help. But we also know that the economy always bounces back and does better when Democrats are in control. Republicans come in and screw it up, and then Democrats fix it, and things are going better, and then Republicans come in and screw it up. So what we're going to do for the economy is get Democrats in there and start putting in decent policy that's going to allow us to go forward and allow the world to stop being reactionary and go back to a sense of normal. And a lot of that will be restorative. But just what he's done as far as Trump, what he's done with this stupid war, and just because he just needed it for his, his Girl Scout badge sash that, started war in Middle East, is just, it's going to have long-term effects. And it's just sad and scary to see. And we know that prices aren't going to come down. Somehow egg prices did come down. But in general, companies don't lower their prices once they've been able to raise them.
Right.
And so what we need to do is we need to get in there. We need to raise the minimum wage. We need to raise the minimum wage for Fortune 500 companies to even higher. If you're Fortune 500, you're going to pay $25 an hour minimum wage. Sorry, Walmart, you're going to pay a living wage to your employees. And it will have literally a 0.0001% effect on anything. The whole, oh, no, now they're going to charge me. No, they're not. They're going to charge you what they can get.
If the Waltons took $1 billion less in profits this year and actually paid that towards their employees, they would actually be able to pay the vast majority of them a minimum living wage.
No, actually, that's not true.
Is it?
That's not true. They have over 1 million employees. $1 billion would be $1,000 to every employee. That's not the difference. But they can adjust their pricing. They can adjust their paying, and we can work on things because we won't have to, subsidize their employees as much. But it's just the fact of, and I have no problem. I say tax the rich, but I don't have a problem with them existing. I don't, I know. And I 100% agree when AOC said the other day, no one's ever earned $1 billion. That's true. We do have a history of good ideas, get whatever, and patents and how things play out and licensing. And I'm not I'm not a person that says tear that all down and we're gonna whatnot. I just believe that the rich need to pay their fair share, and that as they get to obscenely, then there needs to be a wealth tax that has to be there. And it has to be on unrealized gains. It also has to be on the loans. I point this out. Jeff Bezos bought a $500 million yacht, $500 million, and bought it tax-free. Mm-hmm. Because all he did was take a loan against his value and gave that money to the other company, but they work out deals with the rich people where they never actually pay the loans that's up against their shares and whatnot, and that is all part of their estate when the time comes to filter out. But Bezos is paying $50 million a year for staff for that boat, $500 million for the boat, And he's doing it without paying tax on that money. Yet if you or I want to go buy a boat, we have to go buy it with a loan from the bank that we pay off. We pay that loan with our after-tax money. We buy the gas for it with our after-tax money. We buy the food and drink to consume on it with our after-tax money. Jeff Bezos gets to do it on a ridiculous scale and gets to be tax-free.
Yep.
No, I'm just saying flat no to that. And so we need to make sure that we're adjusting the tax code, and these things will help the average person. But we still, I am not going to overpromise and say something ridiculous like I'm going to do this and it's going to fix, because we aren't. We aren't going to fix it tomorrow. We are going to be able to do things that are going to bring the price of oil down, and that when the price of oil goes down, oftentimes the price of transportation, plane tickets, things like that will come down because they're commodity based and they're based on the cost factor of the oil. But the price that you're paying for hairspray today that's gone up, that's never going down. They're not, that company, Vidal Sassoon, is not going to go, well, we were able to charge $8 yesterday. I bet you we can charge $7. They're going to say no. Charging $7, they're going to sell just as many units. All they're doing is cutting their profit. They found out how to charge more. That is a sailed ship. And we need to be wary of politicians that promise us that, oh, somehow they're going to go to that company because they are trading something away for that. And what they're trading away is definitely going to be worth more and cost us all more than that price break that they get.
Yep. Nope. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
I wish I had better news.
Now, I know he said, egg prices came down because chickens were growing to the right size and age to have more eggs. Yeah. They finally had their egg laying community was finally large enough again to supply with us with the amount of eggs that we needed. It just took a few months to get there.
We're also not all sitting at home eating 3 omelets a day because nothing else looks good. Right. I mean, it's the COVID is interesting from the impacts it had and things like the toilet paper supply. And I have friends that and relatives that have worked in paper products, and it's like commercial toilet paper during COVID was stacked to the rooftops because nobody was going into offices or movie theaters or these other places. But commercial toilet paper and home toilet paper come from 2 totally different plants, and they can't just switch over and whatnot. And so it was our consumable, the way we consume things, and people during COVID were like, oh, I guess I have to cook. Well, that means I have to have eggs, onions, and celery and whatever in my fridge, because it doesn't matter what recipe the internet shows me. It tells me to start out by sauteing some onions and whatever, and use an egg white for this or that. And so people were, the industry wasn't ready for that. But the interesting part is eggs came down because they were, Trump made them the center, Biden made them the center, Kamala made them the center. Everybody was watching that. So the egg industry got forced into something. But the price of onions never came back down. The price of these other goods at our grocery stores, they didn't. We're just happy they stopped going up. And we have to continue to be happy with that because that's where we are. And these prices are going to go up again this summer. On fresh fruits and vegetables. We're seeing it.
Yep.
I'm hearing it from farmers here. They deported half the farm workers. They do not have the farm workers to pick the crops. And so if they only get to pick half, their bills are just the same. So they're going to have to double their price in order to cover their costs. And that's where we're going to be, here in the near future. And that's just reality.
Yep.
And people don't like facing it, but I'm going to state it because I don't want it coming back on, you said it wouldn't.
Right.
You know.
And the thing people have to understand, and this is where immigration ties into all of it too, is a lot of the people who have been sent back have been migrant workers who have been legally here on visas in order to pick our crops so that we have food to eat. Because now what we're going to run into is well, a lot of farmers weren't able to harvest their entire yields from last year. So they had a lot of food rot in the fields. So that actually reduced the amount of income they were able to generate, meaning they had less seeds they could buy. Plus fertilizer is now significantly more expensive because the Strait of Hormuz has been closed. So they have to dole out their fertilizer and be a lot more cheap. Basically, you have to be cheap and efficient with it because they're only going to be able to get a fraction of what they were able to afford before. So they're going to have less seeds. They're going to have less land being plowed. They're going to have less, fertilizer, less this, less that. So they're going to have smaller crops to harvest to begin with. And if they don't even harvest those full crops, that's less money. This is the reason why we see small farmers shutting down businesses after, it being in their family for 100 years, because they just can't keep up with the price of everything going up, but them not seeing that same in returns because, well, everything we see goes up at the market. It's $3 more for a pound than it was when they bought it from the farmer, because now we have to take into account the gas and the transportation and the this and the that. And there's so many different things that go into it. So no, your thing of bananas, it's never going to be like 29 cents for a pound of bananas again, ever. It won't. Especially not with, well, they have that virus going through the disease that's killing off a lot of the banana plants. And they had the issue where they drilled it down to just one strain of banana was left. And now that they have this virus going through, there's nothing that can stop it. I know that's a huge issue for bananas. We're going to run into that with other crops too if we're not careful.
You're absolutely right.
You need to get rid of the middleman. Yes, they're not paying the fees by the house, and then they sell the land for houses. They do. Foreign investors buy the land. And then what happens from that? Okay, great. Foreign investor buys the land from America. Cool. Any money generated after that is not being put back into our economy. It will at that point, once they've bought the land, they've built the house, they're renting the house out, at that point, it does not come back to us. There will be no more infusion into the economy for that property while it is under foreign investment control.
Yeah.
That's what we're seeing in Indiana, is we have a lot of foreign investors coming in, buying up our properties, tearing down whatever's there, building up, these condos and townhouses and all these other things they can rent out in the middle of cities where they've bought up houses that were, borderline historical, borderline getting, made part of the historic district and then bought up and destroyed because they would rather get the money from the investors who are willing to sink twice the amount into that land. So say it was worth $300,000, well, they're offering $600,000 for it. And at that point, they're taking that land. You're fine. They're fixing it up. So great. At that point, they're still infusing money into American economy. But the problem is, once they stop construction, nothing comes back to us again.
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem. Are a lot of houses in Michigan are sold to corporations? Again, that's a problem. Businesses, especially financial investors, should have a limited amount of things they can purchase under their name or the name of their subsidiaries or umbrella companies, in the hopes that more land can end up in the hands of American citizens who are trying to grow families and need the land and need the houses, rather than the corporations that don't, which is what's pushing more and more American families onto the street and into foreclosure.
I think I need to wrap. I'm getting an allergy attack that I am.
Oh yeah.
My eye is. I don't know what's going on, but
no, I see that you're definitely having an attack because your eyes are starting to water really bad and your nose is getting red. So
thank
tell
you
you
for
what,
having me today.
Absolutely, we have more to talk about. I know we do. I've been making notes. Like you have no idea. Like I'm on the back of the piece of paper.
Okay.
So what I'll do is I'll reach out to you, get the best email address from you, get a copy of this video over to you, and then we'll get you rescheduled to come back on and talk further. I mean, okay. You have what, August 4th?
4th.
Yeah, August 4th is the primary. So we'll have you on at least 2, maybe 3 more times before then, and we'll definitely delve in more into what you're doing, okay?
Sounds great. I truly appreciate it. Happy Mother's Day to everybody out there, and I'm I'm sorry, I don't know what happened, but my allergies are just flaring at the
Hey,
moment.
I
So,
get it. I've have allergy issues, and if I were not on two different allergy pills today, I would have the same issue.
yeah. Okay, well, thank you all so much.
I will, Eric. So Eric's asking that you follow him back.
Okay, I will do what I can. Okay, thanks.
Thanks. Thanks, Brent. I'll have you on soon.
Okay,
Take care.
bye.
Okay, guys, that was Brent Hennrich. He is running in Washington for the federal, so the U.S. House of Representatives, Congressional District 3. Hey, Eric, I'm all for that. Like, whether it's candidates that don't take PAC money, candidates that, are genuine and honest, candidates that are willing to work for you. And here's the thing is, I don't care what state they're in. In fact, I want as many people from as many states as possible. Why? Because I want to make sure we're sending as many of our representatives as possible to that next step with allies, with people already in their corner that they can go day one and immediately start working with to effect change. That's what I want. I hope that's what you guys want. That's part of why I'm doing this. So, the sooner letter, all I care is that they know the truth. Exactly. Like, I don't care what party they're associated with. I've done Green, I've done Independent, I've done Democrat. I've tried to get a few Republicans on. They have been nasty about it. But if you can get a Republican that's not going to be nasty about saying no, gladly have them on, because if you notice my questions, a lot of them, I talk about basic human rights. I talk about the platform. I talk about their campaign. We talk about cost of living and healthcare. We talk about the matters that are actually important. The things that matter to 80% of Americans. Because I want to find out, regardless of what party you're on, where are you on those issues? Because those are the issues that I keep hearing the top 10 things brought up. Government accountability is number one. Healthcare is typically number two. Education, number three. Infrastructure is in top 10. No, I will. Here's the thing, Kayla, I will. I've had two people who've asked me if I would be willing to interview a Republican candidate. And I said, absolutely. Here's the thing is, I don't care the party. I care what your politics are personally. I care whether or not you're always going to vote party politics, or I care whether or not you're going to vote with your conscience. Because I will vote for somebody who votes for their conscience. But if you're always going to do toe in the party line, nah, fam, we're good. We're done with the party politics. We're done with party loyalty. We want people who are choosing their constituents and the American citizens over their parties, period. But Eric, absolutely. Send me their information. Let me know. I'll reach out to them. And I know, but Kayla, I am willing to do the hard work and give them a platform for their voice if they're actually doing it for the right reasons. And if they're doing it for the right reasons, let's have that conversation. Let's have that discourse. We're not going to call each other names. We're not going to get mean and nasty. We're going to have a civil conversation, because that's what I want with people. I want to find things about them that actually make me excited for, if you were to get this position, why should I be excited for you to have that position? Really? That's a question. That is a question. And that is something where a lot of people, I don't even have to ask that question. Just by finding out where they stand on a lot of topics. Oh, by the time I'm done with that conversation, I'm so excited for them. I'm giggly. Yep. So it's civility. If you've noticed, the 2 months I've been doing this, there's been no insults, not even to people coming in and counteracting and challenging us. No, by all means, please have the hard questions. Ask them. I love the fact that you come in and you engage, Eric. Like, almost every time I do this, you come in, and I love that. Thank you. Kayla, you too. I love that you guys come in, you tap, you share, you engage. It makes it a lot easier for me to do it, because I know that I still have that support. Don't get me wrong. I still sit here where there's nobody in the live having the conversations, and I laugh about it. I'm like, TikTok does not like me right now, because it doesn't. I've said a few things that TikTok just does not like, and the AIs flag that, and that's okay, because you know what? It will get over itself. And that's just it, Eric, is most of us, if we took the party away and we all sat down and we asked each other what's important, I'm pretty sure we can all agree on a few topics that are the most important. That's just it is. When you sit down and you strip away all the labels and all the titles and you ask, how do you feel about kids and protecting them? Do you think that should be a priority? How do you feel about kids and making sure they're fed? Do you feel that should be a priority? If they can't sit there and say yes to both of those, then I have to question whether or not you actually have the best interests of our country at heart. Because obviously you don't have the interests of our future at heart. There's some things where I tell people, it's very simple. And I ask the question, how do you feel about basic human rights? Do you believe everybody deserves rights, or do you believe there's subsections of the humans that don't? Like, really, that is not a hard question to ask. That's not a hard question to answer either. It's a very easy one. And for the people who sit there, well, there's some people. No, there's nobody in this world that does not deserve basic human rights. We all do. We're all humans, right? We all deserve basic rights. Love that, Eric. But I am going to hop off. Again, that was Brent Hennrich out of Washington, Congressional District 3. I will be back on tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. We have Michael Potter first. He is running in Indiana for their Congressional District 47. And then after that, we have Juan Aruez at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. So I have 2 interviews tomorrow. I hope you guys will join me for them. Much love and take care, guys. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out. I appreciate you, love. I appreciate you all. Much love. That's what I was trying to say. Bye. Yes, Juan from Florida. Yes. So he's on tomorrow as well, and I'm excited for that interview. That's awesome. So yeah, definitely come in and have that conversation and help me find out what he's about. But really, I appreciate you guys coming and hanging out with me. It makes what I'm doing worth it. But I'm going to go probably slink off to Joe's live, if he's still live, and see what's going on with their panel, and then chill for the rest of the evening. So yeah, from what I've seen of his videos, he is definitely for the people. And that's what I'm getting more and more of I don't care what your tag is. I just want people who are for the people. And that's the easiest way to put it, is I just want people who are for the people. Because if we have people who are for the people, we're going to find the right ones to put into office. That much I do know. But much love, my friends. See you tomorrow.